I found this doohickey stuck to your fuel tank, Mickey. A low-frequency brainwave guidance transmitter. We can finish building our prototype robo-diver and enter this contest. We couldn't afford the tech before. But now? Today on the Comic Book Report, Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean from Fantagraphics. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I'm really excited to be taking an early look at an upcoming release from Fantagraphics. Of course I'm talking about this book here, Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean, and wow was this book an absolute spectacle. And while I have generally been a longtime fan of the House of Mouse, I admit I am still newer to Disney-based comics, but with that caveat, this book still blew me away. And I can't wait to talk about it today. Before we jump into the review though, I just want to say a big thank you to those at Fantagraphics for sending over this review copy in exchange for this honest review. It meant a lot and I'm really excited to talk about it, so let's go ahead and get started. First, some quick facts about today's collection. This work was written by Denis-Pierre Filippi with art by Silvio Camboni. The graphic novel itself is published by Fantagraphics in 2025. This volume collects Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean. And finally, this is a beautiful oversized hardcover edition with matte print paper stock, what looks to be like a sewn binding, and a total of 64 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, and here's our first dedicated look at the cover for Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean, and as you can see, the art we have here is absolutely jaw-dropping. I love this kind of painted look to everything. Everything is so lush and vibrant and absolutely vivid, and that's something you'll see throughout this whole work. Honestly, the front cover is even kind of indicative of the style we'll see, and that just blows me away. And as we transition over to the spine design, we have that same color retained, which I really enjoy. We have a little Mickey Mouse figure, last name of one of the creators. We have the stylization of the entire title, the nice bold Mickey Mouse letters, which I like, the other creator at the bottom, and of course the Fantagraphics logo. Honestly, a really sleek looking spine that looks elegant and awesome on the shelf. And of course the back cover of today's collection, also really beautifully done. I like that we have a little bit more art here. We have a little bit of a blurb about the collection. Yes, this is an alternate reality and an alternate dystopian future. Love to see it. This is a European creative duo as well, and you can definitely feel that as far as the art style, which I really love. Other than that, we have some publication information, details, things like that at the bottom. All pretty standard stuff. Okay, now I wanted to give all you prospective collectors out there a quick look at this book's binding. I think that this is a sewn binding with perhaps a little bit of glue, I believe I see there. I will say that the binding on this I found to be exquisite, everything laid down fairly well. I had next to no gutter loss issues at all. Overall, like I said, very pleased with the binding, but you can take a look for yourself as I flip through the collection. Now, something I did want to provide for this review, I wanted to stack up this book next to some other common collected edition formats just so you can get the scope and size and scale of this incredible release. Because what might not have been clear initially is just how towering this actual book is. It absolutely dominates my little trade paperback here from Boom Studios, Alice Ever After, as well as my new-in Web of Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1 from Marvel Comics. The trade paperback is a standard size, the size of a single-issue comic book. The Omnibus is a commonly accepted oversized format, again, the Omnibus editions for different publishers. So as you can see, the Amazing Lost Ocean here is absolutely gigantic. I also wanted to stack it up next to some of those DC Black Label kind of art size prints. I know this kind of boxy format style has been more popular recently, especially showcasing a lot of art heavy books. And honestly, this is even bigger than some of those releases. To compare that, of course, here I have Aquaman Andromeda by Rom V and Christian Ward. Really like that book as well. And I thought that this initially would be the same size as one of those releases. But yeah, this is even bigger than that. So I hope these size comparisons will give you a rough idea of how big we're talking as far as this release goes. I was personally shocked and admittedly very excited when I saw just how large this book was. When I heard the page count for this collection, I was initially discouraged by how fast I might read through it, but at this size and scale, I found myself taking longer on each given page, so my reading experience, even for a 60-something page book, was still pretty full. At any rate, as we make our way into the book, after some beautiful kind of sketch work character model end pages, we jump right in. We have a title page, publication information page, and then we jump into a prologue of sorts. We have these nice little banners on the top of each subsequent chapter within this book that complete the entire graphic novel. I think there's a prologue, a few chapters, and maybe an epilogue, as you'll see when I flip through. But yeah, everything just is one long streaming narrative, which I really liked. You probably noticed as well, this release does not come with a dust jacket or slipcase as far as I'm aware. It's just this hardcover volume, but like I said, it's still a towering, beautiful book, but just a detail I thought I'd note. Okay, so what is Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean? Let me give you a bit of a synopsis, kind of describe some of the plot points as I flip my way through this collection. I'll comment on a couple moments and obviously be showcasing this amazing art. Okay, so basically this book follows Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, and Goofy predominantly. We also have kind of their antagonist turned reluctant ally in the form of Pete, as well as some other newer characters. But basically, this is an alternate universe to the main Disney character universe, I suppose, and it's kind of a dystopian future, but in a steampunk kind of stylization. And essentially, Mickey, Minnie, and Goofy are on a team of kind of research diver explorers trying to find a new substance to kind of use as a fuel source, and they're in direct competition with the likes of Pete, who is always kind of one-upping them or having better gear to being able to cultivate or harvest these materials before Mickey and his team are able to do it with any degree of sufficiency. So this prologue is kind of them diving and trying to figure it out. One of the ways they do these dives, though, because this resource or material is in these kind of forbidden depths, they basically have this like robotic suit that can broadcast their neural thought patterns, and basically you can kind of control this robot diver, but you're kind of really linked mentally to it. So this is sort of the technology we get. We have them build kind of more sophisticated version of it after the prologue, and they're kind of going to try to finally get a leg up on Pete. This goes sideways, however, when Pete tries to interrupt Mickey's dive, only to have a catastrophic incident where Mickey's kind of neural pathways are shut. He kind of has this weird out-of-body experience, and then the next thing we know, he wakes up 5 years later from a coma, and he's in a very different world. Pete has now allied himself with Goofy and Minnie, and they're trying to stop a kind of dystopian, total dictator-like figure who has used this anomaly that occurred after this dive, where basically the whole ocean lost its gravity, so it's now this weird floating ocean, and it's kind of mutated different plant and animal life. There's all sorts of wild storms, and of course this is the kind of floating, amazing lost ocean. And anyway, the world has changed quite a bit. Pete, Goofy, Minnie, and now Mickey, recently awake, are trying to stop these bad evildoers, and we're also trying to get the oceans back where they should be. Mickey has a sophisticated knowledge of how the technology and everything works because of the way his brain was mapped to some of this stuff when all the incidents happened. But basically, that's the shape of the rest of the story. They're basically trying to set the ocean right, stop and topple the bad guys, and come out ahead. What I found to be fascinating about this is while the character models were all immediately recognizable, I found like the dialogue was a lot more intelligent and quick than I would have really given to any of these characters. I think Pete felt most like himself, but Goofy is basically a genius here, and Mickey and Minnie are both very entrepreneurial and quick as well. Not that they're less so in their normal incarnations, but this is definitely kind of matured as far as I think what the storytelling demographic is. There isn't anything explicit or bad, but mature in the way of grown up. You know, this doesn't talk down to you. This doesn't necessarily feel like it's written for kids. Again, I wouldn't exclude children from this, but it has kind of a higher level feel with the dialogue. The art, again, so beautiful. I love the character models we get, but also just the environments. This is such an immersive, fantastical landscape, and I really can't believe how well they utilize this format size. It's an absolutely exquisite piece of work. You saw a moment ago as I finished the back end of this collection, we really didn't have anything by way of extras, which is a bit of a shame. I would have loved to see an essay or two or some more behind the scenes sketches, but I suppose we had those beautiful end pages, and honestly the work stands by itself as a really singular and wonderful experience. I'll treat you all to a few more of these big panning shots I did just to again showcase the outstanding artwork we have from this group. I cannot believe how fun this read was. I'm still really enjoying some of the Donald Duck or Duck comics that Fantagraphics and Disney do, but this is also a huge standout in the way of Disney comics. I would recommend it to a lot of fans of science fiction, fantasy, or if you enjoy any of the Disney characters, this is definitely a must read. Especially in this format and edition, it is something remarkable to behold. So if this looks like it could be up your alley, please stay tuned and be on the lookout for this release from Fantagraphics. Once again, this has been Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean. And now I believe all that's left to do is to give this collection a grade. For this unique steampunk, science fiction, fantasy, dystopian story starring our favorite Disney characters, the Comic Book Report is happy to give Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean from Fantagraphics a B+. This was a real standout read in a beautiful, oversized format. I cannot really adequately convey just how beautiful the visuals were or how packed out this story was at just 60-something pages. It was a dream to make my way through it, and I cannot wait to reread sometime in the future. I would consider this a must-read for all Disney comic fans out there, and a fairly safe recommendation to all comic readers in general. If anyone has read Mickey Mouse and the Amazing Lost Ocean or plans to pick it up, I'd love to hear you guys sound off in the comments section, and thank you all so much for watching this review. And again, a huge thank you to those at Fantagraphics for sending over this review copy in exchange for this honest review. Until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, that comment we talked about, and maybe share this video with a friend. Thanks everyone, and have a good one.